Hello and welcome to another 30-minute Thursday. My name is Amit. It is 2 p.m. in the gloriously beautiful Pacific Northwest. Spring has sprung and we are live on Facebook. I hope everyone's doing great. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to join me. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying healthy, staying sane, of course. Very important to stay sane. And before I go any further, I want to wish all the moms out there a wonderful Mother's Day. If your mom is still with you, you are incredibly lucky. Mine is still with me, and I feel incredibly lucky. In fact, I have 4 moms that are still with me. My birth mom, who I love and adore, of course, who brought me into this world. And as she said, I can take you out of this Krav Maga instructor or not, but I have my mom still. I have my stepmom. I have my wife's mom. And my mother-in-law, that's how that works, right? And my previous mother-in-law as well. So I have 4 moms, and I feel really blessed to have all of them still in my life. So whatever you're doing this weekend, whatever you're doing, take time to thank your mom. Take time to tell your mom that you love her and that you wouldn't be here without her. It's a wonderful thing. A lot of cards are going to be mailed out. So having said that, Mom, I love you. I know Mom watches me on Facebook, which is very interesting in general, but I'll leave it at that. Whatever else is going on, I hope y'all are doing great in the Pacific Northwest. We are going to have a heat wave this weekend, which is fantastic. I don't know if you can tell, but I got a little bit of a face tan because I drive with the top down when the sun comes out. And if you've ever seen a man with a tan like this and a smile ear to ear, that's a guy that drives a convertible and the weather's good. So in the Pacific Northwest, that's not often. We don't get sun all the time. We've got sparse sun. Once the summer hits, we'll have a lot of sun. But for now, it's fantastic. And I'm in a great mood. And people around us are in a great mood because we love the sun here. So I hope you guys are equally doing well. I hope everyone is ready for a fantastic holiday weekend. I hope you guys are going to take care of your moms. And let's just jump right in and talk about what's going on with mortgages and economy and everything else. I'm sorry I missed you guys last week. I had a party to travel to, a wedding to travel to. So it was fantastic. And here we are. May 10th was a big day. That was yesterday. May 10th was a big day. In previous 30-minute Thursdays, I've advised y'all to watch out for May 10th as a potentially good day, as the start, not the end, not the destination, but the start of things starting to move in the right direction with the economy, with inflation, and with soon following trailing mortgage interest rates. And May 10th came and went, and May 10th was pretty good. So yay. I'll tell you what that's all about in just a moment. It could have been better, and I'll tell you why it wasn't. And I'm also going to forecast what's going to happen next. So there's a lot to cover here. So what happened on May 10th? May 10th, yesterday, they Bureau of Labor Statistics and whatever other government agencies put all these numbers together released the Consumer Price Index report, the CPI, for the month of April. Remember, these reports always lag at least 1 month because it takes time at the end of that month to compile all the information and do all the research and whatnot to come up with a number. The Consumer Price Index is a measure of inflation. It measures prices that consumers pay for goods and services, and a lot of different components go into that. One of the biggest components is what's called the shelter component, the rent and shelter component, and that makes up 43% of the total Consumer Price Index report. So certain things are weighted more heavily than other things, and so they've got to compile all these things. Now, the expectation for May 10th was that we're going to be replacing with the April. Let me start over again. On May 10th, what we were going to do was replace April 2022 with April 2023. This is when we do a year over year analysis, it's always 12 months, right? There's only 12 months in a year. And so we can only have 12 values, one value for each month in the 12-month span. And those values are tabulated on a monthly basis, and then they're added up. You get 12 months. That's the year over year number. I hope that makes sense without slides and without graphics. But we had the last, think about it like a railroad car or whatnot. The caboose was April of 2020. And the locomotive is now April of 2023. And so, did I say 2020? Good grief. 2022, April 2022. Let's start. The caboose is April 2022. The locomotive is April 2023. And as we move forward, the last month on the caboose drops off, and the next month in its place takes the place of the caboose. So we were going to replace April 2022 with April of 2023. And we did that. That's exactly what happened. Now, here's the thing. April of 2022 was a pretty large number for that month's inflation. April 2022 was a large number, like 0.7%. I know that doesn't sound like a large number, but in the aggregate, it is. And it was going to be replaced by a lower number, which it was. And so that all worked out great. But somewhere in the mix, somewhere in all of the math and all of the reporting and the digging and the redigging and the re-reporting, the powers that be went back in time and said, hey, you remember that April 2022 number? Yeah, it wasn't as big as we thought it was. So we restated that number. When I say we, I mean they. The Bureau of Labor Statistics went in and restated April 2022, and it was a lower number than they had originally stated. And so what that means in practical terms is when you take that number off the chain and you replace it with a lower number to begin with, and then you replace it with an even lower number at the beginning of the chain, you have a smaller difference. We were expecting a big difference like this. That would have been awesome for the markets. We got a smaller difference like that because of the recalculation and restating. I don't want to assign negative implications and negative motivations to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the people that work there, but it was supposed to be a big number. It was a smaller number, but it was still in the right direction. And let's not overlook the momentum. We're going in the right direction. And the markets, yay, the markets started to perk up. The markets took that information and said, okay, we like this. This is good. This is moving in the right direction. We were expecting a bigger bang to start with. We got a smaller bang to start with, but at least it's a bang and not a whimper. So we are moving in the right direction. What does that mean exactly? What is the right direction, and how does this all impact the economy, mortgage interest rates, and residential real estate in general? So what's going to continue to happen is the train keeps on moving forward. And as it moves forward, the months of May and June and July from 2022, they're going to fall off. And we're going to add the months of May and June and July for 2023. And we're going to recalculate every month. We're going to retabulate the aggregate number of these 12 months. And we're going to be replacing bigger numbers from the previous year with smaller numbers from this year. And as that aggregate continues to be added up, we're going to see the rate of inflation come way down. And that's a good thing. And when we do see the rate of inflation come way down, we're also going to see mortgage interest rates come way down. What does way down mean? That's the million-dollar question. But let me tell you where we were. We were at the height of this thing. They were saying somewhere around 9.5% in overall year-over-year inflation. 9.5%. It's almost like a developing world nation. That it's not a very good number, to say the least. And so that's where we were, and where we're expected to be by July. So after May's number comes out, May of 2023, and after June of 2023 come out, and May and June of 2022 fall away, what we're expecting is to see the inflation rate somewhere like 3.5%. Somewhere where we're doing the math. Don't hold me to this, because you know what they say, there's lies, damned lies in statistics. And these are all statistics, and they're being kind of massaged by the government bureaus. So give me a break here. But the expectation is, and the prognosticators and forecasters that I subscribe to are saying, expect inflation somewhere around 3.5%. That is a significant decline from where it was at 9.5%. So maybe they're getting it right in this. And if we get there, and when we get there, here's the thing, we will get there. Whether or not we get there by July of this year, or by December of this year, or by March of next year, that's still up in the cards. But that's what we're heading toward. And when that happens, pay attention now. Mortgage interest rates are going to come way down. And I mean, the expectation is that they're going to start with a 5, as opposed to a 6 or a 7. And that's a really big deal. So when that happens, guess what? All y'all are going to hear from me about refinancing whatever mortgage you have right now. That's number one. Number two, if you guys have debts that you need to consolidate into your mortgage, I'm talking to clients right now, even with rates in the 6s and 7s, the combined payments that they're making right now on credit cards, on home equity lines of credit, on other outflow, it's overwhelming because interest rates have gone way up on that consumer debt. Credit card balances are being hit at like 25% interest. Home equity lines of credit are going somewhere around 9%, maybe even 10% on interest-only payments because they're tied into the prime rate of interest, and the prime rate is somewhere in the 8% range. And so when you start to look at these expenses, even at a 6 or 7% mortgage interest rate, it's a cheaper monthly payment total than it would be to keep your mortgage interest rate at the super low rate that you locked in 2 years ago and be struggling with all these high interest rates on your credit cards and on your home equity lines of credit. So a lot of people are already taking advantage of the debt consolidation. And I would highly recommend that whoever it is that's listening to me right now, if you are carrying a lot of credit card debt, and if you're thinking, how am I ever going to pay this stuff off? And it's just choking you, like choking you to death with all of these costs, call me, because we can do a debt consolidation, roll all of those bills into your mortgage. Yes, the mortgage payment's going to go up, no question about it. But at the same time, your monthly payment across the board on all of your expenses is likely to come way down. So let's not focus on the small thing here, which is, oh, my super low interest rate on my mortgage. Yeah, I get that. Let's focus on the giant expense of carrying all that debt monthly. And more to the point, what's the plan to get rid of it? Like once you cross a certain threshold and now you owe a bunch of money on a credit card, and believe me, I was there. I was many years ago. I was there. I was the guy that called up Visa to ask if they accepted Amex for a minimum monthly payment. I know that the answer is no, they do not. And I can tell you how I know that. It's not my finest moment, but I've had some financial issues in the past as well. That was 20 years ago. But financial issues are financial issues. So I know, like, at some point, you need to have a plan. How do I get out from under all this debt? And a lot of people are carrying a lot of debt because we've had a tremendous rise in inflation. We've had a tremendous rise in costs. We have not seen a tremendous increase in income and in salary to make up for that. And in fact, we're seeing job layoffs, and we're seeing a curtailment of employment bonuses and salary increases and things like that, because that's part of the fight of inflation. The Fed wants to see people not having as much income as they did. They want to see wage pressure down, because when wage pressure is down, meaning when your boss, your company doesn't pay you as much as they were paying last year or as they would be paying in a thriving economy, then there's just not as much money to spend. And when there's not as much money to spend, people don't buy things that they don't absolutely need. And so it causes a contraction of the economy. It causes inflation to come down. That's part of the plan. That is not a bug. That is a feature of what the Fed is doing. Right or wrong, that's how they're going to do it. What that means, though, is if you're carrying a bunch of debt and you've been using your credit cards or your home equity line of credit to finance your lifestyle, I totally get that. I'm not here to point a finger and say that's not right. I've been there myself. My question is, what's the plan? How are we going to get out from under this stuff? Well, here's the good news. If you own a home, especially if you own a home in the Pacific Northwest and you've owned it for several years, chances are you have a lot of equity in that home, meaning that you've got a lot of cash that's tied in that home that's not doing anything for you other than giving you a warm fuzzy. And that's great. I love a warm fuzzy. But if you've got Visa and Amex and Costco and Nordstrom's and all these other cards just piling up, call me. Let's talk about what we can do to pay off all those bills, make all that go away and save you money. Yes, again, your interest rates and your house payments will go up, no question about it. But if the house payments go up by this much, but you eliminate this much of monthly expenses on all your other debts, you're saving money. You're positioning yourself better for the immediate term. You're getting immediate relief. And at the same time, as inflation continues to come down, interest rates will continue to come down as well. Guess what? We'll do another refi in 8 months or a year or 6 months or whenever it is. And we'll continue to bring your interest rates down and continue to bring your monthly payments down. So that is a strategy that we make lemonade, right? When life gives us lemons, let's make lemonade, or as the Italians say, limoncello, which is also delightful. But this is an opportunity for people to take advantage of the situation, or at least work within the situation to make better opportunities for themselves down the road. So if you're carrying a lot of debt, if you're wondering, like, I'm making the minimum monthly payment on my credit cards right now, and my costs are going up and up and up, and my balances are going up and up and up, how am I going to get rid of that stuff? Call me, please. You know how to find me. If you see me on Facebook, if you see me on any of the other social media platforms, whether it's YouTube, whether it's LinkedIn, wherever we post this long form podcast, then you know how to find me. Don't be a stranger. Don't be shy. We'll figure it out. If it makes sense, great. If it doesn't make sense, not a problem. No harm, no foul, no cost. So let's see what we can put together for you guys. Now, beyond that, let me take okay, we're doing good. By way of being honest with you guys, I've had a lot of caffeine this morning. It's 2 p.m. and I've had a lot of caffeine. So I'm going really fast, but it's okay. Stay with me. I'm going to take a deep breath here, and I'm going to talk to you about, for those of you that don't own a home right now. For those of you that own a home right now, now is the time to think about refinancing if you carry a lot of debt. We just covered that. For those of you that don't own your own home right now, and you're thinking about buying a home, here's what's going to happen next. Chaos. Absolute chaos. It's already happening. It's already happening with interest rates where they are in the 6s or 7s. It's already happening. Multiple offers, at least in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know where you guys are shopping, but where my clients live in the Pacific Northwest, multiple offers, escalation clauses, and I'll explain what that is. Waiving contingencies, I'll explain what that is. It's a nightmare waiting to happen. I mean, honestly, and it sounds really good unless you're the buyer. If you're the seller, great. If you're the buyer, not so good. And let me explain. I had clients yesterday. Here's the deal. This is what they offered. The house was listed for $1.675 million. So $1,675,000. The clients, my buyers, offered $1.675 million, but they said to the seller, hey, any offer that comes in higher than that, we will match that up to a limit of $1,875,000. So basically $200,000 more than what the sellers were asking for, matching offer for offer in $10,000 increments. On top of that, they offered to close the transaction by the end of this month. So we're talking about 20 days. That's not a long time. And on top of that, they said, we are waiving all of our contingencies, meaning that our earnest money, which was $100,000, becomes non-refundable the moment the seller signs the contract. The moment you guys accept our contract, you got yourself $100,000 in your hands, applicable toward the purchase price, of course. But if we fail to close for any reason, you keep that $100,000. That was the offer. That sounds like a really good deal to me, right? There were 6 other offers, and we lost to someone who was willing to pay more and who was willing to pay all cash. My clients were putting $1.2 million down as their down payment. So a huge down payment. But someone else was willing to put down more than $1,875,000 in all cash, and that's who won the deal. So that's what's happening right now when mortgage rates, like I said, are still in the 6s or the 7s. What do y'all think is going to happen when they're in the 5s? It's going to be just chaos. Everyone who's been sitting on the sidelines waiting for an opportunity to buy a home is going to come out and say, now's my opportunity. And the competition is going to be fierce. The competition is going to be really hard to stomach. We've been through this before. We were through this in 2020 and in 2021. It's only going to be worse because there's not nearly the same amount of inventory now that there was even in those thin inventory years. How much inventory do we have nationwide? Less than 1 million homes for sale. Less than 1 million homes for sale throughout this entire United States. What do you think is going to happen when interest rates hit that 5%, 5.75, 5.5, 5 point whatever, and the media starts saying, oh, interest rates are low again? Everyone's going to start running back into the market. And now the competition is going to be really tough. And so we have got to figure out a way to get you guys into this thing before everybody else. I've said it before, I will continue to say it. You marry the house and you date the rate. Get the house now. Buy the house that you want and that you can afford right now, even with the payments being higher than you'd like, because the interest rates are higher than they should be. In a few months, 6 months, 3 months, 8 months, whatever it is, when interest rates come down, we will refinance and we will reduce your payments and we'll reduce the interest rate. But if you are even remotely thinking about buying a house sometime in the next 12 months, I highly recommend you do it sooner than later, because once the competition comes out, it's going to be heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for my clients. It's heartbreaking for my referral partners. It's heartbreaking for me. We're working our tails off to help people afford homes, to help people find homes, to help people write really strong offers. But in the Pacific Northwest specifically, there's just not a lot of inventory. There never has been, and there probably never will be a lot of inventory. And so we are just going to keep swimming upstream like the rest of the salmon. And, not all the salmon makes it. Some of them, unfortunately, don't make it. Some of them meet a bear along the way and the bear gets fed. This is what happens. This is nature. And this is what happens in our natural ecosystem in a very constrained, very small sort of inventory. There's just not going to be a lot. So the sooner we can get you started, the better it's going to be. And the sooner we can get you fully underwritten, I mean, get me your loan application, get me your tax returns, your pay stubs, your W-2s, your bank statements. Let my underwriters really sign off on all of this. The faster we can do that, the more aggressive we can be when we do write your offer. I know I'm a consumer also, and I'm lazy. I get it. I've been a home buyer, and I thought, gosh, I can't believe I've got to do all of this work just to get pre-approved or pre-underwritten. And I'm in the industry. I totally get it. But if you want any chance to compete in what's coming in this market, what's already existing in this market, you have got to be prepared to waive your financing contingency. What does that mean? Let me take a look at the time. Good, we've got 6 minutes. I'm catching a breath. Financing contingency. Basically, when you write a contract to buy a home, you are going to put as part of that consideration an earnest money deposit. $20,000, $50,000, $30,000, whatever, $100,000. That earnest money is going to be applied toward your down payment when you close the deal. So it's not extra money, but it is money that goes out of your bank account and into a trust account held by the escrow company while you're negotiating, while we're closing the deal for you. And if you fail to close the deal for whatever reason, hey, I lost my job, I can't buy this house anymore. Very, very sad. It may happen. That is a financing contingency. And so if that were to happen, the seller can't force you to buy the house. What the seller can do is argue with you about the earnest money deposit. That's what we call liquidated damages. So if you fail to buy the house for whatever reason and you have waived your financing, then the earnest money goes to the seller by way of compensation for the time that the house was not listed for sale because you were going to buy it. A lot of clients now are talking about waiving financing because in a competitive market, when you've got multiple offers and you've got a lot of people throwing crazy money at sellers, the sellers say, well, that's great, but what if y'all don't close? You're offering me the sun and the moon, but what if y'all don't close? I want that earnest money now. I want that non-refundable earnest money right now. At the very least, I have compensation for my time if your buyer fails to close the transaction. And so the more competition there is for homes, and there will be a lot of competition, the less options the buyers have, the fewer options the buyer has. And part of that means eliminating their contingencies. Your financing contingency, keeping that in place basically means, hey, sellers, we were going to buy the house, but something happened. I lost my job. I lost money in the stock market, and I don't have my down payment available. Whatever it is, I'm canceling the contract and I need my earnest money back. That's how it works in a normal, balanced market. In a completely abnormal, unbalanced market like what we have in the Pacific Northwest and many of these other markets, which we will see. I know everyone's expecting a collapse. Will not happen here in the Pacific Northwest. May happen in other markets, but unlikely. When that happens, though, what we need to do is sweeten the pie, and we need to take risks, and we need to be hyper aggressive in order to win. And a way to be hyper aggressive with the sellers is to waive your financing contingency and give them that warm fuzzy that they're going to at least have whatever earnest money you pledged as liquidated damages if you don't come through on the transaction. And that's something that is a risk to the buyer. I get that. That's a risk to you guys, the buyer. But guess what? It's also a huge risk to me, the mortgage lender, because it's on me to make sure that you can pull that off, to make sure that you can get the money that you're bargaining for. So it's one thing to be pre-approved. That's me working with my team, making sure that we've got everything. And yes, of course, that looks clean and good. And 22 years of experience, you're going to be fine. But when you start risking real money day one, and there's no get out, get my money back, I'm sorry, I made a mistake and things went sideways, that's a whole nother thing. And I don't want to lose sleep worrying about your earnest money. And I don't want to get calls from y'all saying, oh, we should have called you 3 months ago to get pre-underwritten, but now we found the dream home and we're in love and we want to write a really strong offer. That puts a lot of risk on y'all. And I don't want that for you. So in the waning moments that we have here, please call me up. If you're thinking about buying a house and you're just waiting for interest rates to go lower, fine, I get it. Call me in advance. Let's get you pre-underwritten now. So when the rates do get lower and you do find the right home, you can write that offer right away and you can waive your financing and try to be more competitive. On the flip side, once again, to recap, if you own a home and you're just struggling with all your other bills, your credit cards, home equity line of credit, whatever it is, call me. Let's talk about doing a debt consolidation loan and see about reducing your monthly expenses out of pocket. There's a lot of things we can do for you. It does not have to be this way. So with that, look at that. We're right at 2:30. Unbelievable how quick time flies, even when I'm highly caffeinated. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to thank you guys once again for spending a little bit of time with me. The economy is going in the right direction. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. And when we get there, whatever there looks like, it's going to be a very chaotic summer or autumn for home buyers. So get rested now. Enjoy the summer. Tell your mom you love her. Hopefully you still have that opportunity. Have a wonderful Mother's Day. Have a fantastic holiday weekend. I will see you soon. I've got some stuff coming up, so I'm not sure about my schedule, but I'll keep posting on Facebook, even if they're short reels or whatever it is. And I'm always available to you guys. So please find me on Facebook, find me on whatever social media you happen to be watching on. As I've said before, click the like button, smash the subscribe button, follow me, stay in touch, reach me by personal messenger, direct messenger, instant messenger, whatever. I don't know, courier pigeon, however it is, ask me whatever questions. I'm more than happy to answer you guys. We'll figure it out together. Until then, have a fantastic weekend, a great Mother's Day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and I'll see you soon. Y'all take care.